Clay McKinney, Developer On-Ramp Introduction to CSS for Developers. This is the part about typography. And I want to talk about how to change the font face in CSS. You do that with a property called font family. In CSS, when you have a property name that's two words, it's hyphenated. So it looks like this. I'm going to change the font face of that this H1 element here that says what is HTML. I'm going to change the font face for that. By the way, if you want to get a look at what element you're using, you can inspect it. I did a right click and inspect. I'm going to move this down to the bottom. See, dockside down. Okay, so down here you can see that it's an H1 tag. And it tells you all the things that are applied by default and that are already there and all of that stuff. But anyway, it's an H1 tag. And we're going to say H1. So all of our H1s will be affected by this rule. H1 font dash family. Okay, and then we have to know what our choices are. And without importing a font from some other website, our choices are minimal. I'm going to go with Verdana so we can see it, and we'll leave it at that for now. I'm going to save it, go over here and refresh. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute, this font face thing. You can tell that by default there was already a font face, and it was a font face that has little tiny feet at the tips of all of the letters. Those are called serifs, so it's a serif font face. And then when I changed it to Verdana, Verdana is a sans-serif font face, a font face without serif. It does not have any feet on any of these letters. And you can also specify those generic ideas about a font face as a backup for the font face that you actually picked. So we could say it's Verdana, comma, sans-serif. Let's see if that works. There we go. Very nice. So Verdana is kind of a special font, and there are a handful. Let's see. There's Verdana, Georgia. There we go. Verdana and Georgia are Verdana is the sans-serif one, and Georgia is the serif one. They came out at the same time 20 years ago, and they were designed to be used on the web. They were designed to be used on screens, and all of the operating systems agreed to have them available. So you have a serif font, Georgia, and a sans-serif font, Verdana, that are available everywhere and have been for 20 years. And they look a little bit different. They have very high, what's called an X height, which means that the lowercase x's, or the lowercase letters in general, have a higher, they're a higher proportion of the letter size. Like you can see that this A is like almost 2/3 as tall as this W. Whereas with a normal font, it's usually about half. And that's really helpful actually for reading tiny text on a screen that's low resolution. Now, our screens are not as low resolution as they used to be, but you know, it's still nice. So I'm going to say, I want to make the body text. So all of the text for the whole HTML element, I'm going to make it font family Verdana. And I'm going to move this rule to a new line and indent it. Okay. And you can see that with the body text changed to Verdana, it's very, very readable. Very readable. Okay, so Verdana in Georgia. You can also specify the more normal font faces. Like, for instance, on Windows computers, you have Arial. There we go. So there's Arial. Arial is a knockoff of Helvetica, which is more traditional. And Helvetica is the name of the font on the Mac, so you can specify Helvetica as a backup. And then you can also specify sans-serif as a backup. So you can do that sort of thing. Now, the more normal serif font is on PC. It's Times New Roman. We had to use quotes because it's multiple words. There we go. So then for your Macintoshes, they usually have Times instead. And we've switched to a serif font, so I should change that. Okay, so you can specify the font. If it's not going to be, if it's a font that only appears on Windows like Arial and Times New Roman, then you have to specify a backup font for other people's operating systems like Helvetica or Times, and then you can specify the generic font type as a third backup, so it's prioritized, they're separated by commas. This whole thing, of course, is the property value of the font family property, right? So this is our declaration, and this whole thing is our declaration block. Okay, and we've applied it to HTML. We've applied these to H1. All right, well, let's stop there for now. We'll come back next time and actually import some other fonts from other websites. Google has a nice resource, for instance, and then you can have a lot more fonts to play with, because there's just not many. There's just not many fonts that are always available on everybody's computer. So, but you can tell the browser where it can go to get the font, and then you have a lot more fonts you can play with, and it's more fun. All right, thank you.